Have you ever reacted to a bad memory just like it was happening all over again? Flashbacks can feel like a roller coaster of memories and emotions, and that can add stress to your life and strain even the strongest of relationships. So let's talk about what flashbacks are, why they show up, and then I'll give you 6 things you can do to stop letting them disrupt your life. So imagine feeling like you're right back in that moment, reliving the nightmare of a painful, traumatic event that happened to you. Only it feels like it's happening all over again, right now. It feels so real. And you can feel it in your body, and it takes you over. It takes your thoughts over. And it almost always comes with intense emotions that you can't help but react to because something inside of you feels threatened and you feel a need to defend yourself, protect yourself. It all happens in a split second, and normal life feels so far away, and those you're closest to can feel the shockwaves of it too. It's a cycle very few people understand or know how to get out of. But one thing's for sure, it disrupts your life and can ruin your relationships. So, how do flashbacks even start? Well, your brain and your nervous system's number one job is to keep you safe and make sure you survive. So imagine your brain is a computer and your nervous system is a communications network that sends and receives information to and from every cell in your body. Unresolved trauma is essentially a memory living in that system that wasn't filed correctly when you had a traumatic event. My traumas happened in my military career, particularly during the war in Iraq and Afghanistan. But they can happen in a variety of other ways, like serious accidents, domestic violence, abuse of almost any kind. Even natural disasters can be traumatizing. During trauma, your brain says, okay, understanding what's going on right now isn't a priority for me. Your safety and survival is my number one job. So I'm going to suppress your emotions around what's happening right now, speed up your heart rate, and get you ready to fight or flee so you can continue to function and survive. And that's what your brain does. It goes into flight or fight response, makes you super alert for more danger, and put your emotions on the back burner for processing later so you can survive right now while you're having or witnessing a traumatic experience. Until that danger passes, your mind isn't going to produce a memory for what just happened in a normal way. It has to catch up with the present moment. So when your brain has a chance to file that situation as a memory, it interprets it in that moment as if something's happening in that moment. Something's actually happening to you. You're reliving that traumatic event all over again, even though it's not happening. And that's because the part of your brain that processes the memory doesn't have any concept of time. So it doesn't know what it's dealing with. And it doesn't know that what it's dealing with is actually whether it's actually happening to you or whether it's just a memory that it needs to do something with. So, just in case it's really happening, it always errs on the side of caution to ensure your highest chance of staying safe and surviving. So, it misfiles the memory and makes you react as if it's happening all over again. And that's why you get triggered. Until you fix that filing error, every time something happens that reminds you of the original event, whatever that was that happened, that traumatized you, you'll keep getting triggered and having flashbacks that disrupt your life. And it doesn't have to be the exact same event that triggers you. Any experience that comes close to that event will have a triggering effect on you because the memory of what you're having now will be a close match to the traumatizing event you had earlier in your life. Those unwelcome guests in your head, They don't play fair either. They interrupt your conversations. They derail your ability to communicate and connect with other people, either in your personal or professional life. And they pull you away from being more mindful about staying in the present moment. And it's more common than you think. Flashbacks not only disrupt your peace of mind, they can strain your relationships and tear love apart. If you believe the other person doesn't understand you, that can lead to trust issues, which then leads to isolation and emotional distancing that impacts your ability to communicate and grow together on a deeper level. Remember, your brain's job is to keep you safe. That's its number one goal. So if you're afraid of getting hurt by someone or in a certain situation, you can develop behaviors that push the other person away or keeps them at arm's length just so you can feel safe and continue functioning. It's really hard to connect with someone on a deeper level when you're dealing with that. But there's hope and help, because write this down: trauma is just a wound, and unresolved trauma is just a wound you haven't healed yet. You can heal your traumas if you know how. So if you're with someone who's been through trauma, or you're living with unresolved trauma yourself and know how flashbacks are interfering with your life, here are 6 things you can do to get control over them and give your relationships the boost that they need. First, and write these down too, have more empathy and compassion and less judgment. You can't change what you aren't aware of and don't acknowledge. And being judgmental shuts down your ability to get curious about what happened so you can get to the root causes and do something about healing it. It's okay, and it's even healthy, to wish that you've had reacted differently in a situation. But that's exactly the time that it's important to give yourself some grace when you deal with trauma. Replacing judgment with more empathy and self-compassion, that's a first step to breaking the cycle of reacting to your flashbacks in unhelpful ways. Make sense? All right. Here's number 2. Write this down too. Slow down. The key to taming your flashbacks is to tell your nervous system that you're safe so that it starts moving out of flight or fight mode. And how do you do that? Think back to the very first time you learned to cross the street when you were real small. It was a big adventure to learn how to cross the street. Remember the rule you learned? You're probably with your parents. Stop, look both ways, and only when it's safe, cross the street, right? Well, you can use this same approach when you're triggered too. So when somebody says or does something that triggers you, before reacting to the trigger, stop. Don't even speak. Try to catch yourself. I know it's a challenge, but that's your number one goal. Pause. Don't even speak. And resist the urge, resist that impulse to respond as best you can for just a moment. Then, very slowly, look around you and notice things in your environment. Notice that you're safe. As soon as your brain and nervous system see that you're safe, they will respond so you can come back to the present moment and engage with others in a safer, more constructive and compassionate way that ensures you're heard. Being heard is the first step to feeling valued and understood, and that opens up the door to reconnecting with people who are the most important ones in your life. So again, just look around your immediate environment. Notice the window, what's outside, the tree that's outside, the color of the wall, the pictures on the wall, the door in my room. I'm noticing all that. It's pretty messy in here, but I'm noticing that. And what that's telling my nervous system is, I'm safe right now. I'm not in any danger. I'm not threatened. I'm okay. And that simple exercise can bring you back to the present moment so that you can start responding to the event in a more present and thoughtful way. And that's how you start to reconnect with people and build the relationship with them. Okay, third, spot those triggers. In other words, learn to get curious about why you got triggered in the first place. Go deep on this. You ever thought about that? Have you ever wondered? Sometimes it makes sense that sometimes it's easy to conclude that, hey, somebody triggered me or something triggered me. But I want to challenge you to go deep on this, because it's never about someone cutting you off in traffic or someone's disrespectful behavior toward you, either at home or in a relationship or at work. It's the meaning you give to those situations and how that affects your self-confidence and feelings of worthiness. When you learn to recognize what meaning you give to your triggers, you can make sure others in your life know too. It's how we set boundaries between what's acceptable and what's not with others. So I challenge you, go beyond the veil. The source of your trigger is always there, and it's waiting for you to discover it. I have a course that you can learn to do that, and I talk about that in other forums. But I just want you to know that you can, by becoming introspective and reflective over the situation that you got triggered, start to discover the source, the actual source of that trigger. And it always points to core beliefs that you have about yourself, about your own worthiness. Try that, practice it, and see what it reveals for you. Okay, number 4 is to speak your truth. It's so important to tell the people who are important to you how you need to be supported. Avoid making any assumptions that lead to blaming someone for the situation that you're in, because chances are very good that the other person just doesn't know what's going on in your head. So they won't know how to respond unless you help them understand what you need. That's how you start forming deeper connections, by allowing yourself to be vulnerable and revealing to the most important people in your life how you need them to respond to you, what you need from them in order to stay regulated so that you can stay connected and have more productive conversations and start connecting on a deeper level. When you feel understood and respected for speaking your truth, that's how you start forming deeper connections. All right, number 5, learn together. You can actually leverage your flashbacks and the unhealed trauma they're connected to in a positive way by deciding to understand what your trauma means together with the ones that you love. Here's an example of what I mean by that. When I was diagnosed with PTSD in 2018, my wife and I tackled it together. I ran toward it, not away from it. So we tackled it together. We went through therapy together for many years, not for her, but for me. And we did it together. And we learned so much about each other, especially my wife learned so much about me. And it really deepened our connection. It saved our marriage and deepened the connection we share with each other. And isn't that what you want to, at the end of the day? A stronger love connection with your partner, your parents, or your friends? Yeah. Next, never be afraid to ask for help. There are tons of people out there who understand that trauma isn't about what happened to you, but about what's happening inside of you right now because of what happened to you. They can be a huge resource for you to help you understand what's going on inside of you and then lead you through a process of healing it. So I just urge you to use them. And if you don't know where to find one, DM me. Get in touch with me somehow. On my website is a good way to do that. I know some very good practitioners that can help, and I'll do my best to find one for you and to help you. All right. I'm going to give you a bonus tip now. So here's the bonus tip for you. Honor your struggle. Listen, Life happens for you, not to you. If you're in a relationship that's important to you and you want to build it into something special, but you're struggling with flashbacks and trauma that's unresolved, that's unhealed, remember this. Number one, that person is with you because they believe in you. They see something in you that you might not see or can't see, and they love you for it. So honor that. Number two, it's all happening to teach you something for your greater good. You may never completely understand it or eliminate the memory of what happened. Listen, your brain needs that memory to keep you safe in case an event like that happens again. But wouldn't it be nice to reduce the duration and intensity of it, even just a little, and even just for a little bit? Can you feel the relief just thinking about it? You can do that by honoring your struggle with unresolved trauma and using empathy and compassion to find the lesson in your story. It's there inside of you, along with the answers you're looking for. I hope that this has served you and you've learned something new today. Remember, healing is a journey, not a race. Slow down. Look around. Know that you are safe 99% of the time, and help those that believe in you become your rock for the times you need a lifeline. You deserve it. Here's to your greatness.